Ontario hospitals are being told to be prepared to handle patients as young as 14 in their adult critical care beds. The directive comes from a command center which responds to real-time needs for COVID-19 critical care capacity in the province. The center says there is a current and impending surge in pediatric critical care demand. Hospitals are being told to proactively create additional capacity in adult critical care that can be used for teenage patients who would normally go to a pediatric ICU. And for more on this, I'm joined by Dr. Chris Simpson, Executive Vice President of Ontario Health. Dr. Simpson, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Good evening, my pleasure.
How will this directive affect those critical care centers?
Well, this is really all about preparation. As you mentioned in your introduction, we're expecting quite a severe respiratory virus season this fall. It's already begun. And in fact, our numbers on the pediatric side are already very high. So between RSV, which is a virus that circulates most falls, influenza, both of which are going to be particularly bad years, and another COVID wave, it's a bit of a triple threat. And they're all happening a little bit earlier in the season. So to prepare for what we think is going to be a surge, particularly when it comes to children and youth care, we want to prepare and make sure that we have the capacity. And part of that plan is taking some of the older kids, the teenagers, and have them cared for where clinically appropriate in adult ICUs.
Even with this proactive change, you talk about the current and the impending surge of not just COVID-19 cases, but respiratory cases as well. How severe is this projected to be over the coming months?
Well, every wave of the pandemic has had its own unique signature. You'll recall early in the pandemic, it was all about adult ICU beds, and that was the big pressure point. In the middle waves of the pandemic, it was about ward beds and in general hospitals. And this fall, we think is going to be mainly about pediatric patients. And somewhat ironically, it's not really about COVID at all. We think that COVID's going to have a minor impact on those needs. But RSV, influenza, and other circulating viruses, it looks like a very bad year for all of them, and they're all stacked together at the same time.
So particularly bad for younger patients. But in these adult critical care centers, is there even enough capacity for this?
Yeah, I think having the older kids in the adult ICUs, this is something that is done even in normal times. So there are only 5 pediatric ICUs in the province. And so in previous times, there would be a lot of older kids that are in ICUs after a motor vehicle crash, for example, or something like that. So we're expecting that this will help a little bit. And between this and other measures we're taking, we're anticipating that we'll be able to accommodate even this very large anticipated surge on the pediatric side.
The command center also acknowledging the move may require hospitals to ramp down some surgical procedures and volumes. How might this impact the potential wait times for those procedures?
It's a key point and part of the plan that in order to create this capacity that we anticipate we'll need, it's almost certainly going to involve the redeployment of some nurses from places like the operating room and outpatient clinics and so on. So we will be seeing, and in fact, we're already seeing some ramp down in scheduled surgeries. We're hoping, though, that this will be a shorter time and that we'll be able to get back on track with our surgical recovery plan after this surge is passed.
And Dr. Simpson, finally, just a little bit of time left. My last question is, what is your advice to families as we head into respiratory season here?
Well, I think a lot of situational awareness. I think it is time to be masking indoors when you're in crowded places. And if your children are eligible for vaccination, that's a very good idea for both flu and COVID.
Dr. Chris Simpson, Executive Vice President of Ontario Health, thanks so much for your time tonight.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.